We are the largest home organizing brand in the United States. Home organization is sort of like an operating system for your life, and that good organization allows you to focus on what really matters most to you.
The service is that somebody goes to the customer's house and helps them organize their living space.
That's exactly right. So our organizers would come in, they would sort of scope out what that project looked like, obviously provide a proposal, and then product that they're going to use to implement as part of the final project.
What is the marketing philosophy that Neat Method has?
The overarching idea about organization is that, yes, it's aspirational. Yes, it's beautiful. Yes, it's like this Instagram-worthy moment. But we really believe that it's an ongoing system that you live with. So we try to talk about organization in a way that it's very personalized to you.
Hey everybody, welcome to the show. Over here, Andres Figueira, and this show is brought to you by the Global Talent Company, helping fast-growing teams hire exceptional remote talent from Argentina, South Africa, and beyond. We connect companies with world-class professionals who bring skill, reliability, and a global perspective to every role. And just for our listeners today, we're offering an exclusive 10% discount on your first hire. All you need to do is visit globaltalent.co, click Start Hiring, and mention the podcast listener discount when we reach out. And with me here today is Kate Gagnon, Vice President of Marketing at Neat Method, a company that created a lifestyle service committed to providing a more luxurious and smartly appointed living space. And with that said, Kate, welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Amazing. Thanks for having me.
No problem at all. We're so glad that we could make this work, that you're finally feeling better, and just so that we can get the ground running, Kate, we can hit the ground running. Would you be able to tell us a bit more about your background, about what a Neat Method is in your own words, and how you came to be Vice President of Marketing at this company?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm Kate. I'm a hybrid marketing leader and startup advisor. I have about 15 years of experience helping brands grow, scale, really figure out how to find their voice. And like you said, I currently lead the marketing at Neat Method. We are the largest home organizing brand in the United States. We really believe that home organization is sort of like an operating system for your life, and that good organization allows you to focus on really what really matters most to you in your life and really prioritize. So our offerings range from in-home organizing services
Correct.
to a line of expert designed organizing products. Think, everything you need to get organized yourself in your own home. And we also have a community of 100 plus franchise owners who lead the Neat Method organizing services in their own local markets.
Okay, that is so interesting. So the thing is, the service is that somebody goes to the customer's house and helps them organize their life and and everything of their living space, or is this another way that it's done?
Yes, yeah, that's exactly right. So in terms of like the experience, if you were to hire someone, someone would come to your home, you'd say, hey, I really want to organize my kitchen, my pantry, my closet. And our organizers would come in, they would sort of scope out what that project looked like. Obviously, there's a lot of variance in, even if you think about like a kitchen pantry, right? Like I don't have a
Mhm.
walk-in pantry. I have like some cabinets I've designated for a pantry, but some people have a pantry that's as big as this room, right? So
Okay.
an organizer comes, they kind of scope it out, they provide a proposal, and that proposal includes time for organizers to do the, actual organization project, and then product that they're going to use to implement as part of a part of the final project. So that looks like bins, baskets, canisters, jars, everything to kind of organize and contain and make it look beautiful and be really functional. And they work really closely with the client to understand what's important to them. So if it's a house where they have kids, like maybe there's a dedicated kind of self-serve snack area. If you're like a single person who's like a really busy professional, like maybe it's all about putting things really easy, really, I don't know, easy to grab for making your lunch in the morning or whatever.
Wow, that is so interesting. And like, is this I want to say subscription, but is it like a recurring service that people buy for, or is it just a one-time thing that is done and they help you organize that and then they leave?
Yeah, so that's a good question. We do have a ton of repeat clients. So it does seem like something that like, oh, you come in, you get your kitchen organized and that's it. Maybe we never see you again. I'm sure that does happen sometimes, but most of the time people have us back. We refresh spaces. We actually have a home concierge type service where we could come in and refresh your spaces weekly or monthly as, makes sense. And that can include anything from, helping to, put away groceries or, sort mail or, do things like that would help kind of assist in a household. Or just it's like, hey, I have kids and they've like not followed the system necessarily. We need to refresh it, make it look nice again.
I get how that could happen. And Kate, what is the way in which, or what is the marketing philosophy that Neat Method has in order to promote yourselves to the audience and the customers that you want to reach?
Yeah, I think, for us, the overarching idea about organization is that, yes, it's aspirational. Yes, it's beautiful. Yes, it's like this Instagram worthy moment, but we really believe that it's an ongoing system that you live with. It's really tailored to what's important to you in your life and like what supports your goals. And so we really have, we don't have like a one size fits all approach. So we try to talk about organization in the way that it's very personalized to you, and it kind of like ebbs and flows and grows with you. And like you said earlier, it's like it would be unrealistic to say the pantry always looks as beautiful as it did when we did the photo shoot, right? So there's always a very necessary sort of like refresh perspective when we try to build that into how we think about it. So we think about it much more as like sort of systems and routines and rituals versus like, wow, look how beautiful this is. Let's put it on, Pinterest. And that's important to us because we have both the direct to consumer side of the business and the service side of the business. And so, how we talk to those audiences is very different, right? The things that you would need to hear and learn about to hire a service professional come in your home are so much different than, you wanting to buy a couple of bins and baskets from us to do your own project, right? It's very different kind of communication, but we have that sort of overarching philosophy about organization that kind of ties through everything.
Okay, so I hadn't understood that part quite well then, because then you have the service, as you mentioned, but you also provide the products that they would also use in order to help organize and make it look in the same aesthetic as what is on the Neat Method page, for example. Then you have these bins and these recipients where people can store stuff and anything like that.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So when we started off, we're about 15 years old. We just celebrated our 15th anniversary. We started off, um, you know, thank you. We started off originally, on the service side, and we only launched product about 6 years ago. And so, in the beginning, before we had our own product, all of our organizers were sourcing products from, Container Store or, a local organizing store or Bed Bath and Beyond when that existed, and they sort of had their favorites. But after spending time in like tens of thousands of people's homes doing these organizing projects, you start to think, wow, I like this product, but I wish it was a little more like this, or like, I wish this was sized differently. It never kind of fits in these standard cabinets or, things like that. And so we designed our own line of product that kind of addressed a lot of those like very small but very significant pain points. And so yes, if you hire an organizer to come do a service in your home, they will use the Neat Method product. They will also, we don't make every tiny thing that you might need for your projects. They will also maybe source some other non-Neat Method product things that we don't make. And then, yes, we have a whole direct-to-consumer e-com experience that's, talking to the end customer directly who wants to, and this is usually someone who's maybe more of a DIYer. They like organization. They maybe wouldn't dream of hiring someone to do this project because they like doing it and they would want to do it themselves. And so, yeah, so we're also providing a lot of like guidance and, um, you know, care and attention to those folks to help support them to be as successful as they can in their own project. We actually launched a book last year, which is a super helpful, tool for the DIY client, who wants to do it themselves. They can read the book and kind of get the tips and all of that.
Now, I love how you're also keeping in mind the DIY client, because I personally, like, I don't like cleaning, but I like organizing. And it's a little bit of like, what's it called? It's catering to my OCD, and it just makes me feel so good when everything is perfectly squared on the table and everything. And then I'm like, oh, I did this and it feels so awesome.
Yes, I feel like the true test of how where someone lands on the spectrum, if they're like into doing it themselves or if they want to just hire someone to get kind of, the final is like when you talk about like I love reorganizing, like there's always that junk drawer in your kitchen that's full of so many weird things. I get so much joy with like taking everything out and then like putting it all back and making it like so perfect. It's so satisfying. But I know like that's not everyone, right? Most people are like, no, no thanks. It's fine.
No. I feel you on that. I have like three. I've done two and I'm procrastinating one more because I haven't had the time, but I do really enjoy it. It's like a Sunday activity, Also, I'd love to know, Kate, as well, then with the products you guys create, I believe that that also really helps with the branding for the Neat Method, because that way, whenever you organize a place that they use your products, it's like the Neat Method was here in a very subtle and like subconscious way, because it always has the same, I believe it would have like the same colors and styles. Or are there ways that the customers can tailor or customize the products they receive from your side?
Yeah, that's a great point. I think definitely on the service side, our projects have a very particular look. Like even though they're being executed by so many different organizers and so many different styles of homes, the product is designed in particular to work in lots of different styles of homes. So, we don't want it to be like, oh, this only looks good in like what's trendy now in home building. And so the products are designed to be, pretty timeless. They come in a bunch of different colors that are like very sort of like beautiful but neutral, kind of blend in with a lot of different things. So a lot of like beautiful metal materials and interesting textures and natural fibers and things like that. Um, the other thing I think that's really great about the product is we design them to be really multifunctional. So we don't design really any products that are like, this is for organizing this very specific thing in your refrigerator, or, you know what I mean? Like a really like one single use type thing. Everything can be used pretty much everywhere. And we do that on purpose because we want, we want to honor that like your home is going to grow. You might move homes. You might decide, we're redoing our kitchen. We liked these white baskets before, but actually we want to go with black now, and we want to be able to like repurpose those products in other areas of the home. Right. So, that's, I think, a really nice thing about it is like everything that you had in maybe a pantry, if you decided you wanted to change it, like those baskets could go in your living room on open shelving. They could go in your closet. They could go in your office. And we want it to be that way so that it doesn't feel like, it is a big investment to do these types of projects. And we don't want people to feel like, oh, if I, change the aesthetic of this room in a year, then I'm out of luck, right? It's all super multi-purpose in that way.
Now, Kate, I'd love to also just like switch the perspective a little bit and now look a bit more into the company. And you mentioned that the Neat Method is 15 years old, right?
Yes.
Oh my goodness. Okay. And how big are you guys? Like I read like you're in the US and Canada, but how big is the company? How many employees or people do you have helping you out with this?
About 100 franchise owners who own each of their own Neat Method locations. And then each of those teams might have anywhere from 2 to 10 organizers on their team, depending on, how mature the market is and how long they've been in business. So it'd be individual organizers who are working on those teams. Our corporate team is pretty lean. There's about 18 of us who work on the corporate team, and we work across both the services side and the D2C, e-commerce side of the business as well.
Okay. Wow. So it's more about the franchises that are opened and then it's delegated to the people in those local places to do and to take the Neat Method. Okay. And are you guys planning on expanding be like beyond the US and Canada, or are you comfortable where you're at and are you just like trying to dominate the market in those two countries?
Yeah, I think for now we're really focused on the growth we can still have within the US, especially on the service side of the business. There's lots of markets where we don't have an owner or we've never had an owner, and we would love to grow in that place because we know there's a lot of potential there. And then, yeah, I think on the D2C e-com side, where, it's been a year of, crazy uncertainty with tariffs and, being in the consumer products business is very challenging. So I think for now we're sticking to US and Canada, but we get a lot of interests and questions and demand from outside the US. So I wouldn't rule it out for future.
Okay, okay. No, I totally understand that. And it's completely logical, just like remaining what's it called? Just trying to dominate the markets you're in right now rather than biting more than you can chew. And another question I do have, Kate, is how are you guys leveraging AI in any peculiar or particular ways to help you out with the Neat Method? Because like I know what's it called? Like AI home design is a thing and people just like take a picture of their living room and it reorganizes or shows them the best way or the cutest way it would look. But I'm not sure if you guys are doing anything crazy with that because I believe there could be a lot of use cases.
Yeah, we're definitely exploring it. I would say Neat Method overall is like very uh like very open to and very like embracing AI. I think that was something that was, I've been at the company a little over a year, and that was something that was really exciting when I first joined. I was like, "Ooh, everyone is like, there's like no naysayers here. Everyone is into kind of the possibilities of this." So we use it a ton, from like on the marketing team, from a creative direction standpoint, in terms of like, I use it a lot for research and for data and for like synthesizing data, doing competitive research, things like that. We use it a ton for like, all of our meetings and meeting notes and things, stuff like that. And I think what you're talking about too is like the next level in terms of home design. We play with every like AI home design tool that comes out and compare notes, because we also agree that there's like a lot to be had there. I think right now, we haven't found anything that's in the market currently that kind of like addresses exactly our needs. Um, there's a lot of great interior design tools where you can say like, here's my room, and like swap the sofa, and something like that. I think what a
Exactly.
challenge for us on the organizing side, and we see a ton of potential for this, but is making sure that what those renderings would look like from an organization perspective have accurate measurements. I think that's a I think a challenge generally of ours, and where it really, having someone on the ground, whether that's the D2C customer or that's our franchise owner, who's measuring very precisely all of, these spaces and indicating what type of products, would fit for whatever reason, seems to still not be like exactly replicable by AI. But I have a feeling we're going to get there pretty soon. So whether it's something that exists out there or something that we build, I think it could be a big game changer for us, particularly for like the D2C customer, to kind of like see the possibilities and understand like, like these shelves behind me, like what could those look like if they had different products on them.
No, I hadn't seen it from the way that you're describing it right now, and it's totally true. Like the level of meticulousness that must be required in order to actually say, like, hey, this measures 50 inches, and then therefore we can place 4 bins and another thing here to make it look as neat as possible. AI is not that detail oriented yet. It hasn't gotten to that place. It's more to exactly as you mentioned, to substitute a sofa for some chairs and to make it look and give you an idea of how it would feel. But that's right. The neat method, I think you really need to be super neat and really deep into what is done in the house. So that's nice that you found or you have a niche industry that AI hasn't been able to gobble up yet, because there's a bunch of stuff that AI can do now. But I imagine that in 2-3 years, there will be a tool that will help you guys out so much with that.
I think so. And I think part of it right now with like the tools that exist right now is that there's so much about it that is personalizing like I mentioned in the beginning of the call, personalizing kind of what's important to you. So, if it's a closet and you play tennis every day, like making sure that's like that space is prioritized. And the other thing is also just sort of like the nuance of spaces and sort of how spaces are used. It's like, yes, this shelf is, 24 inches wide, but then there's hinges. And so you can't quite put things up to the hinges in the shelf. And like, there's all those kind of like nuances. So I have a feeling eventually we'll get there to a point where you can like take a picture and be like, what if it's like this? And you just kind of get an output. But not quite yet.
The organizers will have to keep like doing the legwork of measuring it literally and then seeing it. But then one day they'll be able to get these outputs, choose the one they like the most, and then just like go in and execute it. But it's so I'm hearing you speak and seeing what the neat method is, and I'm getting such a reminder of this lady. I believe her name was Mary Kondo. She used to go into people's houses and help them organize themselves, and she would like have a super extremist way of making them throw everything out. But I feel that that she actually created a brand for herself rather than a whole company. But I feel the neat method could go is that a bit of what the neat method is also about, helping people declutter and get better with what they have in their spaces?
Yeah, we definitely, as part of our process, come in, and what we do, we call it editing, but like, we'll help you edit out. I wouldn't say we go as far as Marie Kondo. I think Marie Kondo is like so much of what she does is about sort of the emotionality or the emotional attachment to, to items. And I think, for us, we want to meet people where they are. We're not going to come in and say like the only way you can get organized is by only owning 5
Throw this
sweaters,
out, throw this other thing.
right? And so we will come in and like if we do a closet project, for example, we will make kind of a suggested pile of items that we think you could edit out, whether it's like, oh, this garment has a hole in it and like maybe you don't want to keep it, or this looks maybe like you don't wear it very often because it was in the very back, or things like that. We'll kind of make these suggestions, but it's ultimately up to the client. If they're like, actually, I want to keep all those things, we're like, okay, great, we'll still organize them. But we kind of see that as like a key, that editing process is a key part of the kind of system and routine of being organized in your home, that you need to like, kind of like always be kind of reassessing everything and saying like, hey, there's this whole section of my closet that's like using up great, prime real estate that we're not, I'm not actually wearing these items. Like, should I rethink this? But yeah, a little less extremist than, a
No, no,
total of the color.
I could imagine. And I imagine that the extremism in that part of like Mary Kondo's show, it was all about the fact that people would watch and say, oh my goodness, she's making them throw this away and that. And that also created more viewers. It was more dramatic. So I totally get that. And Kate, do you have or have you guys ran any campaigns that worked really well in terms of marketing the neat method in the US or Canada that you feel you could tell us about or give us an example? Just wondering how you're able to like, I'm not sure if you need to create a need in people's minds for them wanting the service, because I feel when somebody is in a disorganized house or lives in a disorganized way, they know it, and once they see the solution, they'll want it. But what have you guys done anything like that that you could share with us?
Yeah, we do a pretty big campaign yearly in January that we call New Year Neat Me. It's changed a bunch. Yeah, it's changed a bunch over the years in terms of we kind of evolve it each year. The team every year is like, how sort of competitively with ourselves, how can we one up ourselves this year, but also sort of like how can we meet the cultural moment now. But obviously, January is a huge time for resolutions, and getting organized is often one of those resolutions. This year we took kind of a different approach where we're really trying to emphasize that organization could be an endpoint, right? People who say like, I want to have that beautiful pantry, I want to have an organized home. That certainly could be an endpoint, and we very much support that. But we also feel really strongly that organization is sort of like one key part of a life well lived, and it will help support everything else in your life you're doing. And so this
Okay.
year we tried to take a little bit more of an approach that was kind of encouraging organization as tied to maybe other common New Year's resolutions or goals that people had. So if your goal was to have more, nice, dinners with your whole family, maybe then organizing your pantry to kind of prioritize dinner prep and what that looks like would make that a little bit easier. Or, if your goal was that you wanted to, move your body more or go to the gym or do, you were running a marathon or you have something like that, then making sure that the items you need for that are, prioritized in your closet or, wherever, in your entryway, your running shoes are ready to go in the morning, things like that, which sounds so simple when you say it. But I think when we talk to people about their experience with Neat Method organizing, it's very like transformative in a way and in their lifestyle. So we really try to take that, approach. And in terms of the marketing campaign, it's very focused on like, kind of like prompts to help people identify that need because it is so personal. Like you said, it's like there's maybe a lot of people who are problem aware, like, I wanna have a more organizer home, or, like, my every morning is crazy with my kids, that sort of a thing, but they might not be necessarily, like, solution aware yet, and so we created a lot of content to help them kind of, like, connect the dots on what's important to them and, like, how organization could help. And so there's sort of, like, for our DIY, our direct to consumer customer who's gonna do it themselves, there's more content about, like, guiding them step by step, giving them considerations, and, have a lot of sort of like social content that's meant to be like shared or saved or shared with their partner or, kind of to help organize them and support them in, whatever was specific to them. And then on the service side, we were really emphasizing this idea of like, we could help you sort of like either get your time back or prioritize what's important to you. And, so to reach out to um, our local organizers to, to get started. So I love that campaign because it's one that's, super culturally relevant to that time frame. But it feels very us. It doesn't feel like a sort of like, I don't know if you feel this, but I feel like in January, every brand that's like sort of wellness or wellness adjacent is sort of like shaming you into doing something better with yourself. We really want to meet people where they are and support them in what's important to them. But that means it's a lot less prescriptive than, hey,
Is it?
buy this basket, right? It's about helping them kind of like personally believe in organization and and connect the dots for themselves on what sort of project they could do. So, yeah, that's a fun one. And we're building out, based on kind of how that campaign went this year, building out a lot more project-based content on our website that helps people kind of like understand, um, like, how much product or what product they would need for a project they might be undertaking themselves.
Okay. No, like I honestly I love the way you just framed it because it's true that somebody could be very disorganized. They know they have this issue, but they're not aware of the solution. And I feel it's really great how you're mentioning that. Yeah, the personalization that Neat Method provides, it helps create intention in how they organize their life. And that way, if they're runners, they have the shoes at the door. It's very different, like just slipping off from your running shoes and leaving them at the door than having a designated place to put them. And you just know that that is there because you're gonna run. And it creates this whole snowball effect in how they lead their lives that I think I'm understanding the Neat Method a bit more.
I think too, on the service side, a lot of people don't know that you can hire a home organizer, right? That's not as like commonplace for people to know. And so our marketing is also often doing kind of the double work of like not only making you aware of Neat Method, but also making you aware of like the whole category and that you can hire someone. And so, it's very different in terms of how we communicate with those two audiences, direct to consumer and the service client. In part because on the service client side, it's like word of mouth is everything. People
Of
are,
course.
mostly coming to us from a recommendation of a friend. And, versus the direct to consumer side is like, I saw you on Instagram, I saw you on Pinterest. And so it's very different in that way. There's still a lot of work to be done to raise awareness for home organizing,
Of course.
generally. Yeah.
Because I also feel that it sounds like a very bougie thing to do. Like people think, "Oh my goodness, somebody's gonna come and organize my house." But I feel the Neat Method is placed in a more accessible way, and the way you guys, the speech you have, and how you talk to the potential customers is very one to one, and it doesn't feel that big of a thing. It's actually, yeah, come here and help me, and let's make this super cool and make this a nice home in terms of what you want to prioritize. But I do think there's a lot of value there in terms of that it appeals to everyone. And Kate, you just mentioned that the direct to consumer side, they might check out a product via Instagram or Pinterest or anything like that. What is, or do you know if you have a channel that is working best for you guys right now that's leading to most conversions in that side?
Yeah, on social, I would say Instagram is where our biggest audience is. It's where our like historic audience. We've had a pretty big audience there for a long time, and have a lot of engagement there. And anyway, in a way, that Instagram audience also ends up driving conversions for us on the franchise recruitment side. Like people follow us for years, and then they say, "I want to open an e-method," right? And so that channel does a lot for us. I would say TikTok is our fastest growing. Instagram is sort of like our tried and true sort of like historic, account that's doing great. TikTok is the one that has maybe the most potential to scale very directly. I would also say that Pinterest is like actually one of the sort of sneakiest best performing for us. And part of that
Okay.
has to do with the longevity of some of our content there and that for the most part, I mean, aesthetics change. We've changed our aesthetics over time to really evolve for the moment. But at the end of the day, the core principles of organizing, haven't changed since we established them, really. And so a lot of the, versus other brands, it's like I've been at other brands and you're like, wow, this pen's going viral again after 5 years. And you're like, that's great. It's a product we don't sell anymore. And it's really a bummer. But that's not the case with us because it's so focused on, or like education about organization, which is, so evergreen. And so that's one of the, I would say sort of sneakiest best performers for us on a D2C conversion standpoint, which is always amazing to see, like an organic social account that's just like yielding over time. So
Of course. No, and now that I think about it like a bit more thoroughly, it's like people would go to Pinterest to see examples of how to organize something or how to do a thing. Because I know I look for inspiration in Pinterest. It's not like I look for products specifically, but just for inspiration of things. And having the Neat Method there is actually like a super strategic point to meet the consumers when they're like in the situation of need and understanding how to get better organized.
yeah, yeah, I'd say beyond that, like I was just talking about social channels, but beyond that, I would say email is one of our strongest channels for us. We see strong repeat customer rates. In particular, due to email. And part of that is, again, we're trying to kind of create this whole ecosystem of content that helps kind of support our D2C customer, who we know is very into organizing, who's like very much thinking about how they can continue to upgrade their spaces. And so email's a top performer for us in that way.
Kate, I'm noticing that we're almost at time, but before I do close out the episode, I did want to give you the chance to let anybody who's hearing us know if they are a homeowner, if they're the son of the mother that they know is not that organized, and they want to know further about the Neat method and use your services or look for the products you guys offer. What would be the best way for them to do that, and how could they get in contact with the Neat method?
Yeah, the best way is to come to neatmethod.com. We have everything in that one website, so you can learn about hiring an in-home organizer to come, stiff up your space, or you can take a look at our products and our guidance on how to do your own project. Or if you just really, really, really love organizing and you want to join us as a franchise owner, you can learn more about that business opportunity and how we support all of our owners nationwide.
Amazing. So neatmethod.com then.
Yes.
Awesome. You heard it here first. So if you're living a very disorganized life, or if you're so into being neat and organized, you have found a place for your solutions and to find a buddy that will help you out to get better organized in your home. And with that said, Kate, thank you so much for hopping on the show, for telling us your insights, for telling us your story and everything that the Neat method is about. I know that if it were available in Argentina, I'd look into the DTC side, because I'm a little bit of a neat freak myself. But it sounds like an amazing project, and we're so happy that we can make this work.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
No problem at all, Kate. And to anybody who is here with us and listening, we really appreciate you hopping on the show to listen to all the different personalities that we bring on and all the different industries that we're learning about. So with that said, have a good one.